The twin suns of Rheloria burned orange above the arena, casting long shadows across the red, cracked stone. Thousands of spectators roared, their alien voices rising in unison as the warrior stepped forward, her obsidian spear glinting in the light. General Kaelira of the Crimson Claw stood tall, muscles coiled beneath her ceremonial armor. She towered over most Rhelorian males and had never lost a duel. Her silver hair was braided with teeth of her past challengers, and her eyes, sharp and violet, searched the arena for her target. Then he entered. A human. The crowd fell into murmurs, confused and amused. He looked out of place, too small, too soft. His name was Dax Mercer, a soldier from Earth, stationed on Rheloria as part of the interplanetary treaty force. A diplomatic misunderstanding had escalated into a formal challenge. According to ancient law, Kaelira had invoked the spear rite, a traditional form of combat used to claim dominance and sometimes mates. Dax hadn't come for a fight. He had come to explain the misunderstanding. But now, trapped in this coliseum, diplomacy had given way to custom. And Kaelira had never missed with her spear. From the upper platform, the arbiter raised his clawed hand. Begin. Kaelira didn't hesitate. She spun once, then hurled her spear with deadly precision, a blur of black metal tearing through the heat-thick air. It screamed toward Dax like a meteor. And he caught it. The stadium fell silent. The shaft quivered in his hands, and Dax blinked, surprised even at himself. On Earth, he'd trained for years in martial reflexes, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. He glanced up. Kaelira stood frozen. Then her eyes widened. The arbiter's voice thundered across the arena. By the right of Flame and Fang, the law is clear. He has accepted the claim. She is his, by bond, by blood, by oath. Gasps erupted through the crowd. Kaelira's lips parted in disbelief. No, she whispered. No, this cannot be. But it was. Hours later, Dax sat in the high halls of the Crimson Claw Citadel, flanked by two guards with spears crossed in front of the door. He had no idea what was coming next. The door creaked open, and Kaelira entered. She'd removed her armor, clad now in ceremonial robes of deep maroon and gold. Her eyes didn't burn with anger, but something else. Confusion. Conflict. You were supposed to dodge, she said, her voice low. I didn't know the rules, Dax replied. I just reacted. You caught it. She stepped closer. You claimed me. He stood, uncomfortable. Look, if this is something you can undo, I'll go to the arbiter. I didn't mean to bind anyone. Her jaw clenched. No. The law is sacred. To break it is treason. You are my mate now, Dax Mercer. And I am yours. Silence hung between them. Somewhere in the distance, war drums pounded. The following days were a whirlwind. Word spread like wildfire that the human had caught the warrior's spear. Challenges came pouring in from Kaelira's rivals, seeking to exploit her moment of weakness. Tradition stated that once claimed, a Rhelorian warrior's strength would be tested. If her mate could not defend her claim, the bond would be broken, and she would be lost. Kaelira trained Dax herself. He learned fast. Though human, his body adapted. She taught him the rhythm of Rhelorian blade dances, the pressure points of alien anatomy, and the strategy of duels. He wasn't the strongest, but he was clever, and quicker than anyone she'd trained. One night, after a brutal session beneath the moons, Dax collapsed onto the training stones. I'm going to die doing this, he groaned. Kaelira chuckled. It was the first time he'd heard her laugh. Perhaps. But I'll avenge you gloriously. Dax turned to her, sweat and dust coating his face. Why haven't you challenged the law? You didn't want this. Kaelira's smile faded. I didn't want a mate. Not yet. But then I saw you catch the spear, and something changed. It wasn't just the law. It felt like fate. The first challenger came from the House of Thorns. He was massive, armored in boneplate and carrying a dual-bladed axe. Dax faced him in the circle, Kaelira watching from the side. The crowd wanted blood. The fight was brutal. Dax nearly lost an arm, but he won with a clever feint, driving a short blade beneath the warrior's chin. He dropped to his knees, panting, blooded. Kaelira raced to him, kneeling at his side. "You fool," she whispered, clutching his face. "I had to win," he coughed. "Otherwise you'd be theirs." She held his gaze. "You bled for me. You burned for me." And she kissed him, in front of everyone. More challenges followed. Dax defeated each one. Barely. With every victory, the people of Rheloria grew more fascinated by the human who defied fate. Whispers turned into respect. Then admiration. Some even called him spearbound. Kaelira, once cold and formal, had changed. She stood closer, spoke softer, shared stories of her battles, her youth, her fears. One night, beneath the twin moons, she brought him to the sacred cliff where Rhelorian mates bonded by blood and vow. "We do not say I love you," she said. "We say, my soul stands with yours in the storm." Dax looked at her, heartbeat steady. "Then say it." She did. He repeated the words. They cut their palms and pressed them together. Their bond shimmered in the air, a pulse of golden energy linking them. But peace was short-lived. A message arrived, Kaelira's betrothed from an old political pact, General Varnock of the Broken Horn, had returned from exile. He rejected her claim to Dax and demanded a final duel, to the death. Dax stepped forward. "I'll fight him." Kaelira grabbed his arm. "No. Varnock is different. He was my mentor. He's ruthless. I've trained for this. And I'm not giving you up." She stared at him, then nodded, her throat tight. The duel was held at dawn. Varnock stood in obsidian armor, towering over Dax. "You should have let her go, human," he sneered. "She made her choice," Dax replied, steady. They fought for what felt like hours, dust and blood in the air, steel clashing under twin suns. Dax was faster, smarter, but Varnock was stronger and far more experienced. He disarmed Dax, drove him to the edge of the arena. Kaelira screamed his name. But in that moment, Dax rolled aside, caught a fallen spear, her spear, and drove it through Varnock's armor with both hands. Silence. Then the crowd roared. That night, the Citadel celebrated. Kaelira stood beside Dax on the balcony, her arm wrapped around him. "You proved yourself to every clan on this planet. I didn't do it for them." She smiled. "I know." He turned to her. "So, what now?" She tilted her head. "Now, by our law and bond, I lead. But you stand beside me. As my mate. My warrior. My equal." He grinned. "I could get used to that." Kaelira pulled him close, their foreheads touching. "No more spears," she murmured. He chuckled. "Unless you're throwing them at someone else." She laughed. And the twin moons of Rheloria rose high above, bathing the bonded warriors in light, as the planet whispered a new legend. Of the human who caught the spear. And the warrior who became his forever.